It's like that. Welcome back to another episode of Survival Time. We finna get into a fucking ex-bodybuilder who was actually a Crip. His story kind of funny to me because the nigga's built like the Hulk, but I know for a fact he was working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger once upon a time. So we finna see what's up with this nigga, man.
Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I'm gonna detail the story of founder of the Avenues gang and prolific bodybuilder Craig Munson. Craig Munson was born around 1950 in Conway, Arkansas, to a single mother and two older brothers, and later, a little brother. With the lack of opportunity and severe racism they faced, Craig's mother would pack up the family and head by bus to Los Angeles for a better life. Los Angeles would be a lot different than Arkansas, and Craig's family would bounce around a lot, trying to get stable. They would live in different areas in LA and also Compton. In Los Angeles in the 50s and 60s, even though it wasn't as bad as Arkansas, there was still a lot of racism in Los Angeles for African Americans. Craig's mother would later marry her boyfriend, who would become his stepfather, and the family would move on 83rd and Hooper, on the east side of South Central. Craig would be around 13 years old around this time. Craig would fast become adapted to his new neighborhood and make a lot of new friends, and hanging out with his friends in his neighborhood would be the first time he would start lifting weights. Craig would attend Charles Drew Middle School, and his love of bodybuilding would show. At a time when bodybuilding was mostly frowned upon, the staff at Charles Drew began to worry that Craig was dealing with some type of psychological issue. The school's vice principal quickly notified Craig's mother and stepfather and asked them to come to his office for a private meeting. He would go on to say that Craig's obsession with constantly working out with the school equipment had to stop. He would say all he wants to do is work.
What they trying to say? The nigga gonna be motherfucking Michael Myers or something? Like, I'm not understanding. Like, what's wrong with the little nigga working out? If you want to work out, that seems like a positive thing to do, especially if you got like things going on at home and it's personal or whatever. It seemed like a positive outlet. White people be, I don't know, they school teachers might not even be white, so I'm probably taking it further. But I think that shit sound dumb to me.
Out in the gym, all his time goes to working out, and something has to be going on with him. But it was nothing wrong with Craig. He just really enjoyed working out. Realizing the determination, commitment, and dedication her son displayed for weightlifting, Craig's mother decided to buy her 13-year-old son his first set of weights. Outside of working out, Craig loved football, which he was on several teams and played in his neighborhood. With his own personal set of weights, Craig began working out even more, which is when his body started rapidly responding to his training. By age 14, his arms had developed to a point where he cut slits into his short sleeve t-shirts to make room and show off his growing biceps. By the time he reached Fremont High School, his arms measured to 14 inches. By the time he left, they measured to 17. Craig wasn't into playing football at Fremont, but soon realized that bodybuilding, not football, was his true calling. Los Angeles had several black gangs in the 60s, like the Businessman and the Slawsons among many others. But around 1967, Craig, who was 17, along with several of his friends, were drinking and smoking and hanging out. When Craig would say they needed a name for their crew, Craig would come up with the name, the Avenues, with them being on Hooper Avenue. The Avenues would be comprised of several of Craig's friends who lived in the neighborhood, and that was numerous of young teens from surrounding streets. Craig's name began to ring bells off his physical presence, putting fear in many people just off his appearance, but people who tried him would pay for it. This was a long time before guns was constantly used, and it was all about fighting and using your hands, and Craig was good with his. People started to call him Big Mons because he was known to knock people out. But with getting so much attention, Craig was...
Bro, this is how you know chicken and beef back then was fucking real. All the food they was feeding these niggas back then was fucking for real, because ain't none of these niggas little. All these niggas muscles is like really like intact like that. Like these niggas got full on six packs and all that. These niggas ain't no little bitty niggas. Like these are some big ass buffed out like niggas. Like now they gangbangers be about this big, or they be fucking overweight, and that'd be the funny part to me. How you gonna be out here gangbanging and you overweight? You gotta run from shit and you gotta duck from shit. So how you gonna be a fat gangbanger?
Also getting known by the police, and they would constantly harass him because he stood out with his size, and they would be intimidated by him. They would always point him out, and this would lead to things like the police picking him up and taking him to an alley and sticking a shotgun in his mouth to put fear in him. Craig didn't take any nonsense from anybody, and this led to him getting kicked out of various high schools. He would even get kicked out of a school for knocking out his teacher. He would be arrested after school, and he would go to camp to serve his time, which he would do several stints in jail. After getting out, Craig would go back to running the Avenues, which the gang wasn't like most gangs in later years. The Avenues just partied, hung out, and worked out, and sometimes they would get into altercations and whoop ass. Craig would later meet the future founder of the Crips, Raymond Washington, around 1968, when Craig was 18, and Raymond was 15. Raymond was known to have a smart mouth and always talk slick, which Craig despised. It would go all bad one day when Raymond kept making jokes at the expense of Craig's mom, which led to Craig slapping Raymond Washington. Raymond, who wanted to be a part of the Avenues, would be told not to come back around. Raymond would respond by saying, "I'm making my own gang." Craig, from his own words, would say, "What you gonna name it, you little crip?" with Raymond having a limp, and that would be the name that Raymond Washington would later choose for his gang. They would be called the Crips. Craig would later be arrested when he was around 20 years old in 1970. An intruder, who had just been released from jail days prior, would break into Craig's home when he thought Craig was gone. The intruder was armed with a hammer and ransacked the home. A scuffle would quickly break out, and Craig got hit in the head with his hammer. During the melee, Craig was able to wrestle the hammer away from the intruder and began using it on him, which resulted in the man's death. Craig's friend would later snitch on him, but Craig was trying to figure out a way to dump the body.
Man, this nigga friend a bitch. A and B, if you ever run in somebody's house with a fucking hammer, you deserve to die. Cause what the fuck is you running in somebody's house with a hammer for? You better have you a motherfucking gun, at least a knife, nigga. You coming in with a hammer, nigga. You know how much hitting you gotta do to kill a nigga? And this big buff ass nigga, you trying to run in his house, nigga? You trying to run in motherfucking the Incredible Hulk house with a fucking hammer, nigga? You deserve that, nigga. I don't care what nobody say. And as far as his homie snitching on him, this is what I said about the Cali situation. In Cali, you can't do shit and be with other niggas that's doing shit, because at the end of the day, they gonna use the shit that they got on you, all that dirt they got on you, they gonna use that to get themselves from up under that thumb. I promise you, it happens so much in all these nigga stories.
Craig saw this as an unfortunate unseen event as he was protecting his household, and he thought this was self-defense, but courts disagreed and charged him and convicted him of involuntary manslaughter. In 1971, he would go to Tracy, then San Quentin State Prison, where he continued lifting weights, and he would gain 22-inch arms. Craig wouldn't be released until 1975. By the time that Craig was released, the area he grew up in would be completely different. The Avenues will be no more, and Raymond Washington, who he once slapped, will be the leader of the largest black gang in Los Angeles, the Crips. After being released from prison, Craig would do something most people wouldn't expect. He became a hairdresser. With him growing up having barber experience, he was naturally good with doing things involving hair, but he also continued lifting weights. Craig would even have a relationship with some Crip leaders, like Stanley Tookie Williams, who Craig would often work out with. Tookie looked at Craig as a big homie and a person he admired, especially on a bodybuilding scale. Craig became a regular at the pit in Venice Beach and always entertained large number of crowds. Crowds loved witnessing him do incredible feats of strength, sometimes lifting over 500 pounds. Craig was 6'2", reaching 280 pounds of muscle. While being on Venice Beach, a man would introduce himself to
Yeah, this big buff ass nigga was doing hair. That would have freaked me the fuck out seeing this nigga in a salon. Another thing is, the funny part about the Muscle Beach shit is, Muscle Beach don't even look like this no more. They say it's really full of homeless motherfuckers. You even see my man's torn the little Mexican nigga from all the gangster movies and shit. Bro ass actually he actually used to be a bodybuilder. People don't really know that, but he used to be outside, my nigga.
Craig and tell him he can help him start competing in bodybuilding competitions. Craig would start taking steroids to enhance his body. Craig would compete in competitions around the world in places like Switzerland and France, where he would compete and win a lot of competitions. Craig began to blowing up and becoming a superstar seemingly overnight while working at the city gym in LA and the pit at Venice Beach. He would even meet the likes of bodybuilders like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who Craig was even outdoing, with Craig being stronger than Arnold. Craig would become a person larger than life. At the height of Craig's bodybuilding fame in the mid-1980s, he can often be seen riding in chauffeur limousines and Mercedes-Benzes on the streets of Hollywood. Everybody wanted to be seen with Craig, and he would gain the name, the Hulk. But Craig's life would take a major turn for the worse. He picked up a drug habit with him being in Hollywood, and his addiction got so bad, he stopped working out. Most of the 90s, Craig was trying to fight addiction and being in rehab. Craig would distance himself from Hollywood, and he was able to attain employment working at a club. He would kick his drug habit, and he later picked up lifting again, and he was able to attain his Hulk-like frame again. The later years of Craig's life, he still worked out and did several interviews and began to train people and make a presence on social media. Craig Munson is in his 70s and now still lifting weights 5 to 6 times a
Shouts out to that nigga, man. Shouts out to them all together though, cause he ain't really no shiesty nigga. I can't believe somebody snitch on him, one. And two, he also, I commend him for his focus in like actually lifting weights and becoming a bodybuilder, especially when you from the hood. And another thing is that I really want to point out with him is he was able to change his stars, as my nigga Heath Ledger would say. He went from being caught up in that dope to actually kicking the habit, which is very rare. Before a lot of people end up dying off that shit. Another thing is also, don't get so caught up in like the fame or the lifestyle, like whatever it is, my nigga. It could be street fame, it could be real fame, it could be popularity. Don't get so caught up in it that you start changing who you are as a person to carry yourself in this world, because you are who you are and you got there based on who you are. You don't have to change who you are to move around amongst motherfuckers that are on a higher plane than the usual people that you hang with. You don't have to be acting a certain way to hang with motherfuckers that are on a higher plane that you're not on yet. Because you can get there without doing all of that shit. People admire more of that than motherfuckers who actually try to fit in with motherfuckers. And when it comes to Hollywood, drugs is like the fit in thing for a lot of entertainers. And a lot of people who become famous overnight, as far as like, because they don't really get to see as much, like when they coming into the game. When people be coming through like that little small circuit, as far as like when they bubbling up from nothing, you see a little of this, a little of that, and then you see some of this, and then you see some more of that. And you be like, nah, I'm good. You got some people who see it like that and they be straight on that shit. But as far as him, he had his situation. But the only thing I heard about him killing somebody, I promise you, that to me is justified. If a nigga breaks in your house for hammer, smoke that nigga. But y'all let me know what the fuck y'all think. I'm out. Peace.